I'm sure you've heard sayings like, you are who you hang around. You're an average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Birds of a feather flock together. And you can't stick your hand in the pot of glue without some of it sticking. There's a reason why there's all these different types of sayings which are trying to get the same message across. And who you hang around with matters. And if you're watching this video based on the title, you're probably in a situation where you've got these negative influences in your life and you know that they're not good for you. You know that they're not going to help you become the person you want to be and get to the places you want to get to in life. And you know who they are, you know what they're doing, you know why it's important to try and get those people out of your life and change your networks and influences. But you're probably watching this because you can't seem to get those people out of your life. And you're probably wondering why. So in this video, I just want to give a few reasons as to what's going on psychologically and give a few things for you to consider to help you with cutting those negative influences out of your life. So the first thing is you don't move a muscle without a motive. There is a reason why we do what we do. And every single decision we make, whether we're conscious of it or whether it's unconscious, whether we're aware or unaware, every decision we make it because we perceive it is more advantageous. We perceive we're getting benefits out of doing that. And an example is I had a client I was working with and they really didn't like how they smoked a lot of weed, a lot of marijuana. And they were seeing it as a bad thing and something they wanted to quit. And one of the things which I started with was, well, I asked them, what are the benefits you're getting out of this? What are the benefits you're getting out of smoking weed? And, you know, they're saying this is a bad thing and there are no benefits, but you don't move a muscle without a motive. There are certain things you're getting out of doing this activity. And so what we did is we just went deep. We just asked that question, what are the benefits you're getting out of smoking weed? And this is something which you have to ask a lot, and you've got to get a lot of benefits out, and you've got to get deeper and deeper to really get the root of the main things you're getting out of this behavior, which is driving, you know, why you're doing what you're doing. So with this individual, with this client, well, one big thing was they thought a lot, overthinking. We'd help them calm down, slow their mind down, help them get more relaxed and more present. It was something which helped relieve stress. Another thing is they were really creative in their creative pursuits. This actually helped them with being more creative, come up with creative ideas, which they channeled into their craft. And another thing was it just actually helped them focus. It actually helped them with removing the distractions, removing all these things on their plate, and just focused on being present in the creative craft and producing things which are important to them. And so we actually saw that there was a lot of things this individual was getting out of smoking weed, which was actually helping them. And this was just a strategy. Smoking weed was a strategy to help them get what they wanted to get. And it's the same thing with you. If you're hanging around certain individuals who you know are negative, they've got these negative influences which are impacting you, you're spending time with them, you're choosing to spend time with them because you're getting something from it. So the first thing I would invite you to do is have a look at what you're actually getting out of spending time with these individuals, exposing yourself to these negative influences, and write a list. Just keep asking the question. And the more you answer the question, the more profound answers you're going to get in terms of the actual things you're getting from these individuals. And those benefits are what's important to you. You value those things, and these individuals you're spending your time with, they're helping you get that. So just start there. Start looking and being honest with yourself as what are you getting from hanging around these influences? Now, the second tip, the second thing, which leads well off the first thing, is having a look at what is the alternative? What is the alternative thing you want to do aside from spending time with these individuals? And you want to get clear on that, because if you don't have other important things to do or other strategies to help you get those things which you're getting from these individuals. So let's say if it's like the companionship, I really enjoy spending time with people because I hate being lonely sort of thing. Then what's the alternative? What's the other way you can get this benefit without spending time with these individuals? If you don't have an alternative, you're just going to keep hanging out with these individuals to get these certain benefits, these values you're getting from them. So you want to make sure you have an alternative strategy in place. And I'll use an example, an analogy, which has actually inspired me making this video. Just a few days ago, I was having a conversation with a friend, and they said, I want to spend more time with more positive people. I want to cut these negative influences out of my life, but I keep spending time with them. And I basically said, have you ever been so busy? You had something on, you had an event or something, and you had a friend or a person ask you, hey, do you want to hang out? And you found it was really easy to say no, decline their invitation, because you actually had something on, you were actually busy. You found it's really easy to say no to those people when you've got shit on your plate, when you've got alternative things going on. But when you don't have anything going on, when you've got nothing throughout your days or your weeks, you've not got an agenda, and someone comes in your life and says, hey, do you want to hang out? Do you want to do something? It's a lot more easier to get distracted and to indulge yourself in those things because you just don't have an alternative in place. And so if there are these individuals where you just can't seem to say no, you really struggle, one thing you might want to consider is looking at some alternatives and looking at what's actually important to you in your life. What do you value? This friend I had, the conversation we had, they really valued music in terms of listening to music, but also trying to get better at their creative pursuits. They also just loved learning. They said they just love learning about all these random things, and they also loved spending time with their family. And so I basically said, imagine if you, aside from work, filled out your day with learning and playing music, learning about other random things which you are curious about and you would love to learn more about, and also scheduling time to spend time with your family. If you scheduled every single day with those kind of important things, those things you value, then naturally, when these individuals are going to be trying to get your time and get your energy, and you don't really want to spend time with them, it's going to be a lot more easier to say no and decline their invitations. But also naturally, when you're busy and you've got these alternatives, you've got something else to focus on, right? And you're not going to be wanting to spend as much time with these people because you're busy. You're just busy doing these things which fill up your cup. And so rather than trying to just cut things out of your life, I think that's quite an unproductive thing, because there's a saying, anything you try to repress, you end up expressing. And so the more you try to, like say you're a smoker, people who try to quit smoking, the more longer you have quit smoking, you tend to get those cravings which will be more intense. The more you try to stop a behavior, basically the more you're going to be thinking about it, the more exaggerated those cravings are going to be. And then you end up caving, and then you end up beating yourself up and things like that. It's just not productive. What's better is, rather than just trying to stop something, it's trying to replace it with something else, start something else. And when you have something else more important to do than hanging around these negative influences, and you're actually prioritizing these things, you're blocking time out of your calendar, and you've got an agenda, and you've got that focus, you're wanting to do those things, naturally, you're just not going to spend as much time and energy with these other things which are less important in your mind. And also it's easier to say no, like I said before. When they're inviting you, you can easily decline. You can just say, I'm busy. Thank you for the invite. And a big tip here is, one thing is, I don't recommend apologizing to these individuals when you're busy doing things which are important to you. Don't apologize. Don't say sorry. There's nothing to feel guilty about when you're doing things which are important to you. Find other ways to basically decline their invitation. You can basically say, thank you for the invite. Thank you for thinking about me. I really appreciate it, but I'm really busy. Maybe another time. And so that's the second thing, is really look at, well, what's the alternative? And you probably know that if you have been constantly hanging around these negative influences in your life, you've just probably not had a clear alternative in place, and hence why it's been really hard to decline those people, because that's the only thing which is helping you get the important things I mentioned before. So think about an alternative strategy and put some time and energy and effort into that. Have a think about what else is important to you. Start filling your days with high priority things, and you'll naturally start reducing your exposure to these negative influences in your life. And the third and last thing is, like I said before, rather than trying to go from 0 to 100, rather than trying to, it's like with dieting, rather than trying to go from a sedentary lifestyle where you're eating junk food every day and not exercising, to thinking you're going to exercise every single day and start eating clean foods and cut out all the junk food, that's just completely unrealistic. And it's incredibly hard to rewire those habits which you've got locked in. Because a lot of the behaviors in terms of eating junk food and not doing anything, it's habitual. And you've got to rewire those habits. And so this is why trying to do the same thing here with these negative influences in your life, trying to just cut them out, go from 0 to 100, it's extremely hard to do. So it's focusing on one step at a time rather than trying to go from 0 to 100. So here are some things to maybe consider. Let's say if you've got like 5 people in your life who you've identified as negative influences and you want to spend less time with them, you want to reduce your exposure, maybe just identify the one highest priority individual who's impacting your life the most. And maybe just start with things you can do to reduce your exposure to them. Rather than trying to tackle all of them, just tackle the highest priority one. Another thing you could do is, rather than say these individuals, spending all this time with them, let's say if it's like 4 days a week you're hanging out with this one individual and you spend on average 4 hours with them, rather than just trying to go from 4 days a week to 0, one thing you can maybe do is half the amount of times you're seeing them on average. So however often you see these individuals, these negative influences, maybe cut it back by 25% or maybe half it. I don't know. Just start with something. Start trying to reduce it rather than eliminating it. So if you're spending 4 days a week with that person, or let's just say 1 day per week, so 4 times a month, maybe half that. Try going, if it's 4 times in a month, 2 times in a month, once a fortnight. Or, if you're spending like 4 hours with them, maybe you could reduce the amount of time you're spending with that individual. So rather than 4 hours, it's 2. And just start reducing, start pulling back, and say if you're going from 4 hours to 2, you could explain to this individual, well, I've got these other important things going on, so I'll spend time with you, but I've got to go at this time, or hey, I've got to, I'll be late to this thing just because I've got these other things going on. I'm going to the gym, or whatever you want to do, whatever the alternative strategies are for you. And the big thing I'm just trying to get across is, rather than just trying to go from 0 to 100, is just start gradually pulling back and putting your time and effort, which you're saving from this individual, into those alternative strategies which you've identified earlier. And just by pulling back and naturally just putting your time and energy and effort into other things, you've got the ball rolling. And naturally, either that relationship will just start to fizzle out naturally, or you can keep that relationship there if it serves you in some kind of way. You can still spend time with this person who might be important into your life, but they're not taking away so much other attention and energy and effort from these other things which you really want to be spending your time and effort doing. So that's obviously a decision for you to make, because they could be family, they could be really close friends. You might not want to cut them out of your life. You might want to keep them there, but you might just want to reduce the amount of time and energy and effort you're putting into this individual, start channeling it elsewhere. So rather than trying to cut, think about reducing and channeling your energy and effort into something else, which is what I talked about in number 2. So that's the video. The 3 things, just as a quick recap, is number 1, look at what you're getting from these relationships. What are the benefits you're receiving? You don't move a muscle without a motive, and you're getting certain things from it. So be honest with yourself. And then the second thing is, look at alternatives. What are some alternative things you can do to get these same benefits? And also fill out your day with alternative high priority things, so it's a lot more easier to say no and to reduce your exposure to these negative influences in your life. You've got other things going on. And then the last thing is, rather than trying to cut people out of your life, try reducing your exposure. Start small. And when you're saving that time and energy from these influences, you can start channeling them into other things in your life. Small things add up, so don't undermine that. Just start with something. It's better than nothing. And that's the video. So if you like this video, consider giving it a like. It really helps me out in terms of the algorithm. And also, if you want to see future videos like this to help you with empowering your life, then consider hitting the subscribe button as well, so you get notified when I make future videos. And then the last thing as well is, whatever you find most insightful in this video, consider leaving a comment as well. And that's it. So thank you for watching if you got this far, and I'll see you in the next video.